When we first came down this road in 1999, it wasn't even a road. It's a little bit more worn of a track now. We're on our way back to Kapasseni. This remote little village had been tugging at my heartstrings for years. It was great to be going back there with Ben Fox, who had documented the first journey in.
We had been to Kapasseni 12 years before as a part of a group of people who were with Joseph and Perpetua Alfazema, who were Mozambican refugees, who had raised money in Canada to rebuild a school in their village. Joseph and Perpetua's mission sparked a lot of interest on this side of the world. And it all began with a simple plea from an elder who wanted a better future for the kids in Kapasseni.
The chief of the village came to us and said, please, could you help us have a school?
Perpetua and Joseph knew the village's dream, and they recruited me and various other people in Victoria to help realize that dream. And so in 1999, we came to build the first school that the area had seen in about 30 years, since before all the years of war.
We're here.
The first time we got there, it didn't seem to be like a village at all. It was just a bunch of broken down huts. It felt like a kind of ground zero.
It was a place that had experienced serious trauma and tragedy, and the people were still feeling the lingering effects of war.
There was no sense of organization, signs of malnourishment. It was quite a depressing sight.
You couldn't imagine. People were just coming back from being refugees, living a refugee life, coming back home to establish, to start everything from scratch. They wanted to have their life back.
We arrived with a truckload of building materials. The people were so excited to see these tools arriving, tools that they hadn't had. Before they broke ground to start the school building, a ceremony was conducted. A young sapling of a tree was dedicated to symbolize all that could flourish in Kapasseni from that day on.
Within a week, an incredibly short amount of time, we were able to rebuild a school in the village of Kapasseni, but I think alongside the school being rebuilt, it seemed like the community found new life and hope. And so we rebuilt a bit of the spirit. It was an incredibly moving and hopeful experience.
In one short week, I'd become very fond of these people, and we were heartbroken to be leaving. The entire school came out to say goodbye and to sing us off in our departure.
As far as I was concerned at that moment, I might have been seeing them for the last time. And I wondered how long this would last and where it would go from there, because they're still facing incredible challenges.
I was full of questions as to what would carry on, what would be sustainable beyond the life of this first little school made of sticks and grass. But it wasn't just the school. There's something else that started to grow in Kapasseni that week.
There were two sides of the story and two sides of the picture of Mozambique. One was Mozambique had been destroyed and there was no hope of anything better. And then the side of the people themselves, they showed hope and they had a great vision.
Now, as we approach the village, I'm wondering if I'll recognize any of the faces. Because I've been living with the images of Kapasseni photographically, not only with video footage, but also still photographs. So I have an image in my mind of its sort of pure beginnings, as it were. And I'm wondering what the village looks like now.
I was very curious to see not only the changes that had taken place in the last 12 years, but the impact of those changes on life in the village.
Kind of a wave of color just descended on the truck. So I struggled to get the camera turned on and get out of the vehicle as quick as possible to meet this dancing, clapping, singing wave of children.
The community had come to meet her on the road. I have never seen anybody get that kind of a welcome.
I was pretty choked up with emotion. The singing and drumming was so beautiful. It was pretty full to overflowing. I am again just thinking about it. As soon as we arrived in the village itself, we were taken on a whirlwind tour. We saw the 2 school buildings with classes going up to grade 7.
Nice. There's a whole town here. Look at all these houses.
A health center fully equipped and staffed.
Oh, remember when we brought those first supplies in?
It looks like a real clinic now.
Yes, and it smells like one. This one is better.
Then there's the well that serves the whole area around the village that everybody gets their water from and brings their laundry down to.
Yes, from the seeds.
And then we saw the orchard.
And then we planted those eucalyptus over there.
I remember when those little seedlings were planted, and now they're enormous trees giving big crops each year of mangoes and cashews and citrus fruits.
Oh my goodness.
Last piece of the
When we were first in the village, we were very taken with the beauty of the pounding of the corn by hand. It seemed so picturesque. But in fact, it meant that young girls couldn't stay in school. They were needed by their families because it took the better part of each day to grind the corn for the family's meal.
So they're gonna grind it into flour?
And now, thanks to one single donation from a donor in Victoria, there is a diesel-powered grain grinding facility that has transformed the lives of girls and women. And now they have time in the day to pursue their own dreams.
Nka tempo tai si kwenda shkola nkuye ni kuja na poje kwenda shkola.
But the biggest change I saw was in the faces of these kids. So bright, so engaging, and their eagerness to connect with the visitors from Canada. They're now well-fed, and their minds so stimulated with education that their intelligence was shining through. But beyond Kapasseni itself, there's something much bigger that seems to have grown out of it all, something generative and a kind of energy, a kind of magic that is now becoming really a whole organization.
12 years later, a tree planted by the old original head chief has grown into a very large tree. And it seems as if it's a symbol of not only the many branches that have sprung out from this project, but just of hope and life and vitality. Kapasseni was the beginning of reinvigorating an entire region.
The Alfazimas had been living in the area full-time for the past 6 years, and a lot more has happened because of that.
Muda, Yesu anakati muda fupi. Muda ni pano kwa silipeni.
Joseph pursued his dream of becoming a Lutheran minister, tending to the spirit of the people in the region. And Perpetua founded a project called Kuwangisana, which means for the better health and well-being of all.
I think one of Mozambique's most valuable assets and resources are the people. And Joseph and Perpetua have been able to put together an incredible team of people who are genuinely committed to seeing improvements in their own backyard.
Kuwangisana concentrates on several key initiatives. Home-based care for people living with HIV and AIDS and other chronic diseases. Care for the orphans, hundreds of orphans that have been created by this dreadful epidemic. And also very engaging kind of prevention work that is cutting through all the superstition and fear about AIDS and getting the real facts out there. To make all this happen, there are about 150 staff, including professionals, and what they call activists. These are local people, young and old, who have been recruited and trained to be part of the solution.
Right now we have 300 patients who are suffering from HIV and AIDS and other chronic diseases. And we do have a hope. We are really hopeful.
For 2 days in a row, we went out with Joseph and some of the activists from Kuwangisana, as well as a nurse and a doctor on some of the visits.
She's saying when she was pregnant, the husband passed away.
And we were able to go and visit people who were living with AIDS and benefiting from a community outreach program set up by Kuwangisana.
We got to see how Joseph loves these people and how they open up to him and tell him what's on their hearts. He's such a comfort to them. Ganunga, the nurse practitioner, who monitors what's happening with the people, hears about their symptoms, makes sure that they're getting the right medication. Thanks to Kuwangisana, there's now many, many people on antiretroviral drugs getting their lives back. What we saw there was true compassion in action. The activists who provide all kinds of care, from bathing to physiotherapy, helping people care for their basic needs, helping them get mobile when they start feeling good again.
I was just very impressed at how tender and caring the nurses and the activists were with the people, and just the real comfort level that existed in those interactions.
In fact, many of the staff at Kuwangisana are people who have been brought back from the brink of death and are now working in the project and bringing that kind of hope and care and information to other people who are suffering.
The biggest project that has been spawned from Kapasseni and Kuwangisana is 7 Hills. I'd heard rumors that an incredible school project going on there, but I had no idea it was as large as it is.
And it's still under development, but there's a lot going on there right now. A number of the very young children who are really too traumatized to be going to the public school yet attend school up at 7 Hills.
It's composed of preschool, age 3, 4, and 5. And then we also have a grade 1, 2, and 3. And once they graduate from grade 3, we integrate them into a public school, a government school.
At 7 Hill, they find a place to share their joy, express themselves, and they have a place where somebody can tell them this is wrong and this is right. They can share their culture and feel wanted.
And just like in Kapasseni, it seems like it's a place that's a real beating heart of a community.
There's always a big pot of porridge on, or rice and beans for a midday meal, sometimes with a bit of hippopotamus meat thrown in. The kids get involved in projects, and tree planting is the big thing right now. There are wonderfully kind and loving teachers up there, teaching traditional crafts and traditional dance.
Nothing in Mozambique happens without music. And the marimba is the instrument of choice. Multiple people play it at once, and it becomes the center for circular dancing that happens around it.
The traditional music, it carries a lot of message, and it actually shares a lot of culture. And marimba, it actually has been considered as part of the education of the school. This marimba is bringing both young and old, and they share. It's one of the healing tools for the children who are suffering from trauma, who have lost both parents. And if they have a grandmother, they connect with the grandmother through the marimba music.
The role of grandmothers, not just at Kuwangisana, but in the whole country, has become very, very crucial.
We met multiple grandmothers that had several grandchildren and had no children of their own. And some of them had had up to 10 children and lost them all to AIDS.
I had 12 children, and all of them, they are dead.
They are now in the position of being at an advanced age, having to care for young children and scraping together some money however they do.
7 grandchildren. My legs, I can't walk properly.
And so Kuwangisana offers them some interaction with people who are concerned with their health needs. We'll help them with food sometimes, kind of a support network.
Kuwangisana, it has brought a lot of opportunities to the grandmothers. Most of them didn't know which direction to take.
Whenever a group of the grandmothers gather, this wild singing and rhythmic clapping and these extraordinary instruments that they blow through seem to be part of it. And what I see is that it's through this kind of music that they seem to feed themselves and each other on some very deep level. It keeps their energy and their spirits up to do the hard work of caring for, sometimes half a dozen or a dozen young ones.
So this child, they imagine that if their father was there, if their mother was there, they would be dancing with them. It's really helping. The children, if they didn't have the grandmothers, wouldn't have a chance.
What's really working here is that it is a homegrown model. Being run by Mozambicans, they are employing the best resources of their own culture in helping their people. And that's why it's wanting to spread throughout Mozambique. Kuwangisana was invited to come and set up similar kind of services in the town of Shemba, about an hour to the north. In Shemba, there's another great site where children come to before and after school. They get well cared for and fed.
It had an incredible feeling there. And the children were obviously receiving things that they need to just have a bit of a chance at childhood.
The community in Shemba is very, very active, just like any other communities that we are working with. This little girl is telling a story that she has learned from the grandparents group. All the stories have education in them, they have good meanings, and for us, Kuwangisana, we are very happy because the community is very supportive. They tell us how to help them, and they are very, very much involved.
The larger city of Kaya, the capital of the district, is a tough place to be an orphan. Here, Kuwangisana is taking over this project, called Rayo de Esperanza, or Ray of Hope. It was a fledgling project that was badly in need of some additional leadership and expertise. Ray of Hope provides care for some of the thousands of orphans in the city.
So they've helped some of those kids access health care and food and hope.
Some of the components that we're going to be adding for the Ray of Hope is the home-based care, which they don't have, and the prevention.
AIDS prevention is a keystone of the Kuwangisana mission. And street theatre is one of the main ways they get across important information about this disease.
The group of theatre is a group of young people that go out in the community and educate people about HIV/AIDS prevention. And it's actually suited for the environment, for the community, because a lot of people, they don't know how to read and write, so they are very visual. So it draws a lot of community. And I hope Kuwangisana and the communities that we are providing services will become AIDS-free and a healthy community. When we came back to Mozambique in 2006, there were 4 funerals per week. And now we are having like 1 or 2 funerals per month. So that's the big difference we are seeing now.
What I see here in this whole operation is an amazing kind of a partnership between a community in the West and a community in Africa.
Viva Canada!
For example, Perpetua had this idea to build a public library up at Seven Hills, and a lot got done with very little funding. It's the people of the community that start off by making the bricks and carrying them to the building site, digging the trenches, gathering the stones to lay the foundation. We provide those materials that they can't get there, things like cement and the metal roofing, the nails. They provide an incredible amount of labor and ingenuity, making every dollar that is given to the project count in so many ways. So that's where, as a funder, I feel it's not a handout, it's a hand up. It's Mozambicans who are very, very capable and know how to help each other.
Involving the community is the key of the success of any project. So you find somebody in grade 10 can't even...
For Kuwangisana to be able to be established the way it is due to the 100% support of the local government, health, education, agriculture, and also traditional leaders, religious leaders, and the traditional doctors. That support is 100% guaranteed.
One of the things that we really emphasize, even in our funding, is capacity building, because we need our staff to be trained, because knowledge always stays with people and people can apply it anywhere. Helping the local people to be able to run their own programs and organization is a key for Kuwangisana.
Our trip was nearly at an end, and we had one more important stop to make, the boarding school in nearby Marasa. We visited 16 children from the original Kapasseni school who are here continuing on with their education.
Safuna vunza kuti ngangasi anu mbuzintizu da tumefimanga shikola pa Kapasseni ile ya maudzu adatoma klasi wepa.
Eventually, they'll all be getting their high school diplomas, thanks to scholarships from generous Canadians. They're all in love with learning. Every one of them has a dream of going on to university to pursue careers in agriculture, medicine, engineering, and education.
And myself personally remembering when some of them were lined up as 5-year-olds waiting for a red Kapasseni shirt and their first opportunity to go to school.
It was through looking at the faces of these boys and girls at Marasa that I could see where this is all leading to, that the leaders of Mozambique in another dozen years will be these young children that are getting such good care now in the hands of Kuwangisana.
Viva Kapasseni! Viva! Viva Marasa! Viva! Viva Victoria, Canada! Viva!
I was myself a refugee child. I know what is to be vulnerable. So my heart goes to the children.
With all that's heartbreaking about Africa, the poverty and the disease, this trip was so full of good news. It gave me the heartwarming of my life.
There's an incredible example being set over there by people like Joseph and Perpetua and the other people that are attached to Kuwangisana.
In Mozambique, in the future, at least 1 or 2 people in each province will be able to say, I know Kuwangisana and I've worked there, and that's where I got my experience.
My hope and dreams for the future of Kuwangisana is Kuwangisana becoming a self-sustainable organization.
I think it's working because it's a partnership. We're not doing something for them, we're doing it with them. It really feels like we are a family. Being there, I felt like I was meeting the other half of my community.
They've experienced things that we, as Westerners, couldn't even conceive of or imagine, and let alone find their way on the other side, being hopeful and positive and strong and resilient. The branches of the tree have grown, and if Kapasseni and Kuwangisana and these projects are any indication of the possibilities there, then Mozambique has a real chance.
Kalira nkubulire amawulire gendese kalira eyo gyenvudde waffe Desemba bulidde ekintu te kontute oba nasiba wano nasiba oba nasula wano onomika twala onyanjule twala twala mu baganda bo onyanjule twala mu bakadde bo mbawe ebintu okwagala kuva mu kuteesa y'ensonga endeese gikwanjulire tugiteeseeko onyanjule 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 oba nasiba wano nasiba oba nasula wano onomika ntwala